Hello and welcome to another episode of Darkness in Dublin. We lay our scene in the Trinity College Hermetic Chantry once more, where two of the Hermetics are meeting to discuss recent events. It's been a busy couple of days for both of them. Yeah. um,
Yeah, it's pretty accurate.
um, well, um, so I'm pleased to see you back, Hugh. Are you okay?
I am now. Things were a little rough for a little bit, but I'm feeling a little better. He'll kind of like wince as he settles down into a chair.
What, what do you need anything? A good drink, perhaps?
Some water would be fantastic right now. Wouldn't mind.
Yeah, Rupert sorts out water and for you and tea for himself. Um, what what happened?
So the whole prisoner exchange thing happened last night. Myself, Lottie, and Roros were there, along with D'Onofrio and a few other people. Um, Things were going all right. I have a list in my brain of all the prisoners, um, how many hours they spent being, he'll throw up little finger quotes, reconditioned, and which stages they got to. Um, and then somebody shot the technocrat that was leading their side of it in the back of the head with a premium bullet. A premium is
Sorry, their leader was shot by their own side.
that's either that or someone defecting from their side.
Right.
I'm thinking it's Cypher 9 personally, but
That sounds very plausible.
after he got shot, the mechs that they brought along to kind of safeguard the whole situation um, started aiming at the crowd of prisoners that were walking towards us. So I tried to tell them to stand down and got shot with a plasma rifle for my trouble. So that kind of explains this, and will gesture at some of the burns.
Well, we'll have to get that scene too. Are you able to heal it yourself? Or do you,
Yeah. I gotta get my hands on some quintessence here in a minute. I
well,
get it.
I can probably help with that. Um, are you able to transfer it?
Yeah.
Okay, well, you're welcome to take some. You take some of mine then.
All right. I believe it's. Actually, I gotta check real quick. Prime 3 or Prime 4 to take it from somebody. I think it's just 3.
Definitely Prime 3 would do it. Yeah.
I want to check just. Oh, I should probably roll for Nightmares too. See if I'm down or dying. Oh, Young had a decent sleep. Luckily. Alright. Check magic roll. Alright. Yeah, I think Prime 3 should do it. And if not, then
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure Prime 3 does it. Maybe even less if it's all consensual stuff. But I'm sure Prime 3 does it.
yeah.
We've got it as a vote on my sheet. So, you want to roll for it,
Yeah, just to keep it.
or we could do it, or we could like roll for it as Blue Book after scene is also a thing. But whatever.
Sorry. I'll just go ahead and get out of the way.
Go ahead.
3 successes with the willpower, so that should be enough to get. He'll pull 2 contestants if Rupert's cool with that.
Yeah, that's fine. Oh,
Okay.
well, it's not good to leave anyone injured or in pain at this point. Right,
Yeah.
at any point, but especially given the state of the world right now.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I'll wait to do the repairs till I'm back in the lab. But
Okay. Okay, so that you were saying the Max opened up on the prisoners, you stepped in and you got shot.
Lottie talked to the second in command there and got her to tell the mechs to stand down. Then we just kind of we had a long discussion while I was laying on the ground, slowly. Like, I diffused the plasma. I turned it into water instead. It wasn't sticking to me. I was kind of laying on the ground in the rain, burnt to hell. Lost my thumb at one point, but it's back on now. Prisoners are back. That's the important thing.
So, how many prisoners were there?
30.
Anyone particularly famous?
I did see somebody on the list that is supposed to be dead.
Who?
Out of character, I think it's Edward Townshend. PM will give the correct name. I'm just kind of
Sure. Okay.
on it. But yeah, Edward Townshend. He's an etherite who's working on some stuff with time, seeing if time was actually cyclical or not. But supposedly he died in an explosion. I mean, probably a cover story, but you know.
Yes. Or well, many things could have happened. Yes.
But the worrisome part is he was making pretty good headway into that, supposedly. And now, due to the stage of reprogramming that he was at, the technocracy probably has all that information.
Yes, well, they don't have everything from those prisoners. For that matter, we should check that they're still compos mentis. They could have some conditioning inside their heads.
I think Lord Sideshow is doing the deprogramming. That's. I think I heard somebody mention that before I passed out. So.
Well, it sounds like it. Well, as you say, we all the prisoners were returned. No one on our side died. And the peace treaty still stands. So I suppose we should be thankful that that's all worked out. How did Dinofri seem?
She's she seemed alright. She didn't get hurt or anything. She did find the premium bullet. So
I sent her some messages after last night. Obviously, she was very busy with those events, but I felt I should report it straight away.
Right.
As you can imagine. I'm still be playing that over my head as to how we should have acted. Um,
No.
I on, on some level I agree with you that really we shouldn't have let him leave, but at the same time, given what he appeared to be doing, I wasn't confident if we fought him there and then we'd win. And I was a bit shaky as to if we did fight him, which side Roy would actually be on.
It's fair. I mean, it's better to be informed when going into a fight than uninformed. So
Yes. I mean, I'm concerned that we may one day regret that. That may have been our best chance while he was still recovering and unprepared. But
he could, in theory, just brought all that fire right back in the middle of a fight or something. I don't know.
yes, yeah, given his clear ability to conjure and unconjure fire, um, but it troubles me how he did that. As I said, I saw him put the fire out, but he didn't. He didn't seem to attract paradox.
It's weird.
Um, but he was clearly using something akin to true magic. Um, there's only two possibilities I've been able to come up with on this. One is he's a marauder, which, to be fair, given what he's been through, he's probably quite insane.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't. I didn't think they even had marauders back then. But I guess if he's got insane in that whilst in that box, um, the other idea I had was that he wasn't using magic as such, but was using an infernal investment.
It's also possible.
Um, I know you've joined us. What was it? A couple of years ago now, wasn't it? How familiar are you with the Order's history?
I'll just kind of like raise his hand and give a kind of motion with it that will waggle side to side.
Right. Um, I don't want to waste time repeating stuff that you already know, but obviously, suddenly this ancient history has become extremely relevant.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and Rory seems keen to sprout off about it at every opportunity. Um, yeah, telling the guy that we wiped out his house as our opening statement may not have been smart.
Probably not.
Um, hmm, so it, oh, the shards of the box he was in. I was given them by the Tafani who turned up. Um, I've handed them into the chantry to the Vitius specialists here for examination. I don't know if you want to be involved in that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take a look.
Well, so it's not really my area, so I've handed it over for them to get on with. Um, but mm, Rupert's obviously looking clearly troubled by this. Yeah, and possibly he hasn't before. You know hmm, what do you think? Should we have acted differently that night?
Yeah, I think I agree with you that opening with "Hey, we cast out your entire house" was not the best way to open things. Um, I don't know. I don't think it was a good idea to fight him at that point in time. I was ready to go to do it if it needed to be done, but I don't think it would have ended well for us.
No. Um,
I was more concerned with getting the regular people out of there.
which is, yeah, quite valid. I'm just concerned that saving a few lives and letting them go may cause far more casualties in the long run.
I mean,
But we let him go anyway, so you clearly acted correctly. Um, but so did I recall correctly? He was said he was it the right hand of the High Priest of Balor, or the high or is that right? Or the High Priest of Balor?
something like that. He said something about being connected to Balor. I don't know who that is, honestly.
Balor is the great villain from the Irish mythology. He's a god of drought and the burning sun. Um, he's said to have a great one eye, which is death to look upon. Um, the basis for Sauron.
Hmm.
Um,
Okay.
he had a what they call a death geas. He could only be killed by his own grandchild.
Hmm.
Um, and the fellow we met, he had a third eye in himself. In his you wouldn't have seen it. Um, in how can I put this? It was his he was had a fairy aspect to him.
Oh.
Um, so, but I'm concerned that so he's openly a servant of a pretty dark god. Um, not just a pagan god, and an outright villain by their own mythology. Um, he's claimed he claimed to be a well, he claimed to have been a Dene who was cast out and imprisoned by his own house. I was given the inscription on the box. It talked about he was meant to be sacrificed, but his parent, his father, couldn't bring him to do it, so they imprisoned him instead. Um, because I think we understand the father to be a mentor, a parent,
Mhm.
not a blood father. Um, so I mean, I was also reluctant to attack him at the time because I could see there were. I was trying to find a way which we could justify not doing so. That clearly, if everyone who has renounced who put him in that box was later renounced themselves, there might be a legitimate case that his conviction's unsafe.
Yeah.
But that's why I thought we could justify. Yeah, let's offer him hospitality. Let's sit him down. Let's talk to him gradually. But no, that didn't seem to. He seemed adamant that we were enemies. I don't know. I I sense that if I had chosen to strike him down, I think I would have tried to do so non-fatally. That you would have backed me up.
Yeah.
I thank you for that. As I said, I was a lot less shaky about which side Roy would be on.
Yeah. I'll be honest with you. This might sound bad. If somebody pops out of an ancient sarcophagus, um, starts a raging fire, and is using college kids to communicate and then just casually shatters one of their collarbones to the point that it pierces their lung. I'm 99.9% sure that guy's the bad guy, and I have no problem fighting that guy.
Yes. You briefly uses someone as a translator, I could accept.
Right. That's all right. I can understand it.
The rest of it is more problematic.
Yeah. Like, it's still kind of shitty to do, but I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do, I guess. The translator bit, I mean, the rest of that was completely unnecessary.
Well, we did tell the other traditions that they were evil.
I mean, you told them. I don't know.
Well, I didn't particularly want to bring it up. It was ancient history, but there seems to be so much of it coming to light around here.
Yeah.
And people claiming membership of it. Lottie being the foremost example.
I mean, that's fair, but Lottie also saved my life last night, so I can't be too mad at her.
Oh, did she?
Yeah, she's the reason they didn't keep firing on me. She hadn't told that one technocrat to get her men to stand down. I'd be dead right now.
Well, I was trying to judge her on her own merits, not any old allegiances she might claim. But I've only had, I think, one proper interaction with her, and that was the meeting when we were discussing Yuki Federal Law Sideshow. I don't know if you've heard about this.
I haven't, no.
No. So Yuki had been arrested, and the various tradition representatives, I was there as proxy for Crowshaw, were discussing what to do with her. And I'd gone straight from work, so I was wearing my lawyer's my work attire. And Lottie outright called for a show trial. In those exact words, she wanted a show trial. Now, I hope you can appreciate why some of us might take exception to conspiracy to pervert the course of justice.
Yeah, I can understand it.
But it's actually quite a serious crime.
Right.
So as I said, I was having to judge her on her own actions, not on allegiances she might be claiming. But when my first time I meet her, she openly commits a high crime to my face.
Yeah.
I have a low view on her.
That's fair.
So I don't think I've actually had a good talk with her since, other than her berating me after we immediately left. So, but still, I don't think Lottie is the least of our problems right now.
I don't think she's really a problem, honestly. She seems mostly on the up and up, barring that one thing 2 years ago.
Wow. So, what are we to do about High Priest of Balor? Well, I'm sure we haven't heard the last of him.
For sure.
What if he decides to burn down this chantry?
Right. We are just up the road from what we tried to burn down earlier.
On the relation note, has anyone warned Lottie? Because he's probably going to the old Janae chantry that she's occupied.
Fuck, no, we didn't get a chance to bring it up. I didn't let him know.
He's probably, I'm assuming he knows the passwords or whatever it is to pass the wards.
Presumably.
That's going to be an interesting little discussion they're going to have, I'm sure.
Yeah. All right. Shit.
So I know. I don't. Okay, because I know you've obviously joined us late in life. I don't think to most of us the Danae were just bogeymen we used to scare young apprentices. We don't expect to actually meet them again. And the fact that there's actual Danae walking the streets here, that should bring down, all sorts of masters will be spoiling for that fight.
Right.
You know, um, not to mention the Tremere if they somehow find out.
Are they another fallen house?
Oh, again, Roy mentioned last night the Tremere were one of the founding houses. They were heavily involved in fighting the Danae, and some decades later they became vampires. I guess we then fought a huge war with them,
Fair. All right.
and then we fought another war with them a few decades ago. So that's best way to describe it. You've heard of House de Talus.
Yes.
The Talus and Tremere are very similar. The founders had the same mentor, which makes them brothers and makes their members cousins. So if you think of a vampire with all the mindset of a Tatalus,
Probably Tremere. Not necessarily Tremere, but probably Tremere.
we have an old expression in the order. How does it go? Tatalus fight in order to learn. Tremere learn in order to fight.
Okay. So Tremere tried to avoid conflict until they know enough about it to enter it, whereas the Totalis enter conflict in order to learn from the experience.
Yes.
Okay.
You see how it's an interrelated ideology.
Right.
I don't know. Sorry, I'm not being as eloquent as I'd like to think I normally am. This whole thing's got me somewhat flustered.
Oh, for sure. There's a lot of... another confusing situation. I was at Agrabah Nights a couple weeks ago, and I met a member of our order. Things seems like a nice guy, House Fortune. Left me a card. I think I've got it up in my room. I'll show you later. It's just kind of flashing and everything. That's not the weird part. Also met a virtual edit named Ozzy. He's a very nice dude.
Okay.
Little out there. We're just kind of casually talking, and then a sword appeared out of nowhere and pierced Ozzy and impaled him to the wall.
Oh. Okay.
Then it had a note attached to it, saying that there were that somebody had a bunch of prisoners. Alexandros has the note. You can check it out if you ask him. But it was signed by LSJ.
LSJ.
Or no, LJS. Sorry.
LJS.
Yeah.
I'm not placing that.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. But if you see people bring it up, and
yeah, that's the first I heard about it. Yes, it reminds me that we need to make sure we've got proper communication channels.
Yeah. There's just been so much going on. It's like, ugh.
Okay. So when you say there was a Fortuna there, would that be Mr. Page? Oh, no, not Page. Mr. King. That was it.
I didn't catch his last name, but he looked and carried himself like an old Western cowboy.
Oh.
So I'm assuming not.
No. Okay. Have you made any more progress with your own background? I seem to recall you had was it amnesia, and you weren't sure where those implants came from.
Yeah, I know where they came from now. I learned that a few years ago, a couple years ago. Over the last 2 years, the only thing I managed to unlock besides that is that I apparently really liked the Star Wars movies.
Right.
Um, but as to why I have them and who gave me them, um, there was a man. Uh, do you recall the Project Morpheus stuff that was going on a couple of years ago?
Somewhat. I mean, I recall when we were on the Leviathan that the ship recognised the implants on the. Did the progenitor do recognise them as well?
That progenitor worked with the man who gave me these,
Right.
and the man who gave me these was the person who thought up Project Morpheus
Mm.
as a purely hypothetical situation. Um, the technocracy, more specifically Cypher 9, took him up on it. What Project Morpheus was supposed to do, if I remember correctly, was make it so that the hermetic way of doing magic, basically anything beyond the technocratic way of doing magic, flat out would not exist.
Mm.
Like, we wouldn't get paradox from it, we just would not be able to do it.
Yes, an end to the Great Ascension War.
Yes. Um, but in order to do it, they would need a bunch of keystones, which were powered by the souls of a ridiculous amount of people.
Mm.
Um,
Well, I recall they fed maybe was it 1,500 souls or spirits into the engine of the Leviathan in front of us.
yes, and it would take about, I think, 5 or 6 of those to power Project Morpheus.
Mm.
Um, so the reason I was given the implants, the person who gave them to me recognized that this was a really bad idea and that he shouldn't have brought it up at all. So he stole one of the keystones and he put it in my chest. And he gave me all these implants and he erased my memory. And he was going to tear out my avatar even, um, just to make sure they didn't get their hands on it. Um,
Right. Okay. Well, it sounds like you've made some lot of progress there. Do you still seek your old memories?
kind of do and I kind of don't.
I mean, you are the person you are now. It
Yeah.
sounds like you've been reborn. You don't need to let the past define you, unless you choose you want it to.
It's weird because I agree with you. Like, I'm not that person anymore. I'm not Agent Bok Choi. I'm young. I'm a member of the Order of Hermes. Um, and I'm curious. Um, I was married once upon a time, apparently. So I'm curious as to what happened to her and what all went down and everything. But I'm also afraid if I go unlocking that stuff, that could just rewrite who I am now, and I'd be back to Agent Bok Choi. I'm not sure I want to do that.
Mm. Yes. Well, change is a constant. All of us could have an experience that changes who we are, and doubtless we will through our lives. But normally, most of the time, those changes are gradual. I can see that why you would be fearful that if you want to recover these memories, it does change who you are now. Um, hmm. Well, I think there are no easy answers there, and I think that is something you would have to search your heart to decide. But then that's not a different mind as such. That's not a different consciousness. That's simply memories of what this body has experienced that are currently closed to you.
And that makes sense, but you also have to consider, like, I don't have a human brain. I have a computer instead of a brain, and it's entirely possible that whenever they were doing all this, whenever they were putting in that firewall or whatever to keep
Mm.
access away from me, they put something in that if I do ever access that, it could just rewrite me, just rewrite the programming.
I see. I see what you mean. It's not. Yes, yes. There's you may your attempts to gain memories may result in you losing your new memories.
Right. And, I've made a lot of good friends since all this has happened, and I don't want to risk, losing them or worst case scenario, killing them.
Mm.
You know.
Well, if you're well, there are a few ways forward. You could leave the box closed and hope it stays closed, and live your life going forwards the way you are now. I'm sure there are many people in this world who would be grateful for the chance to redefine themselves as you have been able to do. Um, what we could try to do, if you want to try to push open that box, we could try to back up your current sense of self. That's both your memories and your personality, your stream of consciousness, your spirit, so that if it gets overwritten, we can put it back. Um, I'm sure it would not be easy, and I'm sure it would be dangerous. I think only you can answer the question of how badly you want to know these things and whether it's worth the risks. But then there is a risk in not doing nothing. Maybe you'll randomly hit a trigger one day, or maybe a timer will count down that we don't know about, or maybe someone else somewhere will push a button and the box will open in an uncontrolled, unplanned way for us.
That's true.
Sleeping dogs do not always lie asleep. Mm.
No, it's kind of, whenever like you're tired, you're like getting bad news, and you just kind of have you're kind of slouched forward. That's kind of where he's at right now. It's kind of a lot of signs like, yeah, this is.
This is well, this is in any case. It sounds like there is no hurry, much to think about, but no immediate hurry. On at least on that front, you can run on that when you're well in your own time. And I'm sure that I or others will help you if you decide to go down a particular route.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Rupert. Offer for help and talking with me about this. I haven't told anybody about this yet besides you.
I'm happy to consider it confidence if that's what you wish.
Yeah, for now, at least.
Um, I've I've got quite good at mind. It was the reason I became an adept. So I don't know about your condition. I'm able to treat mental illness with it. I'm not sure about amnesia, but suppose probably. Though again, the fact that yours is partly technological may make it complicated. But
Mhm.
I can do what I can to the best of my ability if you choose to go down that route.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
I'll think about it.
hmm. Did you say you had a name for the old identity?
Yeah, his name was Bok Choi.
I mean, any other details? A date of birth? A
Uh,
place?
the only the only other thing is he was born somewhere in South Korea, and
Yeah.
that's kind of a big area.
Well, and do we know how old you are?
I don't,
I mean,
honestly.
that should be fairly easy to find out.
I'd estimate probably late 20s, early 30s, maybe.
Well,
But
if we have an if assume that was the birth name, and we have a country, and we have a rough time period, yeah, it may be possible to just do some mundane record searches to tell us a little more.
yeah, it's true.
I mean, yeah, I don't know about South Korea, but I mean, Europe, you see, people have to be on the electoral roll to register to vote. That's a public list.
Hmm.
Um, for example. So it may be possible just to check, do some background checks that might tell you a little more about who he was, a little more about who his wife is or was, his family.
Yeah.
But then again, I think you need to decide if you want to open that box. I mean, what if it turns out you've got a child out there?
Hmm.
Um, Parenthood does change a person, as I've come to understand.
Yeah, I really hope I don't. Not for any like I hate kids reason. Just I don't. I'm not a fan of missing dads. You know.
Mm. Well, it's all got a bit morbid. Perhaps we should try and find a lighter topic to talk about.
Yeah, probably.
Um, so, as it, well, I'm not saying this is entirely, at least a slightly lighter topic. I had a good chat with Rory the night actually before the incident. How well do you know Rory?
Not super well.
Um, so he's quite young, but he has done a lot in his time. He's a Meronita Magus, so the house that deals with the fair folk. Um, how to put this? Um, he's got a reputation of being somewhat impulsive and rash. Um, the first time I met him was 2.5 years ago now. Um, Ironically, I was called in to prosecute him. Um, unfortunate series of events that the traditions actually charged him, but they were happy for the Hermetics to deal with it in house. And they dragged the nonsense out for months, and eventually, I think they let him off or did some. I got a bit cut out of the plea bargaining, and I wasn't terribly impressed by it. Um, so I actually quite like him, to be honest with you. He's young, he's fine, and he's got like a lot of young people. He's got the passion to change the world. Um, he needs to learn that sometimes discretion is also important.
Yeah.
Um, so he's he's become an adept at his young age, which is commendable in itself. So I know the Meronita. Well, they did want to become recognised as a major house again. They got relegated some centuries ago to ex miscellanea because, frankly, we don't really need a house of fairies anymore. They're not quite as common as they used to be in the mythic ages. So they kind of lost their relevance. But anyway, I'm concerned about Roy because ultimately, to be honest with you, he may not really understand this. I actually quite like him and admire him certainly, but he's had obviously some difficult time. May have had some bad experiences with the Order. I'm not quite sure exactly what. The trial probably didn't help, even though it wasn't the Order's instigation. But he's actively talking about leaving the Order. Now, if he just wants to go off and spend all his time with other people and do other things, that's absolutely fine. But I mean, you remember the swear of the oath.
Yeah.
You can't just say, "Oh, no, I'm not going to keep the oath anymore. Wander off." That's not how it works.
No, that's.
So I'm a bit concerned he'll do something rash and stupid, and that will be very regrettable for everyone. And I don't really want to see that happen. I think as I've tried to tell him, that I think the problem is he did have a cabal. They all died, or one way or another. We don't know the details. I think what he really needs is a good cabal of like-minded people to do things with. He doesn't need a new tradition or craft. He just needs a new cabal. But I'm hoping I can reach through to him and get him to understand that before he goes and renounces the Order, and then we have to hunt him down.
Yeah, from the few conversations I've had with him, I mean, I like him. He seems like a nice guy. But I could definitely see him doing something like that if pushed to it. And that would not go over well for really any of us.
No. So, and yes, and he's one of these people who's completely obsessed with historical events 1,000 years ago, and like, well, there has to come a point at which you have to judge organizations by who they are now, not by what happened in history.
Yeah.
So I don't know, if you get the chance to have a good talk with him, let him know, make him think he's got friends around here, which is genuine. We generally like him. Probably wouldn't hurt. And try to calm him down so he doesn't do anything stupid and rash would also be good. But well, you saw how rash he was on Friday night.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, he likes to bleat on about we made that some children may have died 1,000 years ago in the Schism War. Well, I'm sure children died in every war in that era, sadly.
The best we can do is not harp on about it, but just learn from it. Don't repeat the same mistakes.
Because I'm sure he'll talk to you about it. Do you understand why the today were renounced?
No, I don't.
So it was a time of general strife and conflict and private wars were going on. There was a grand tribunal. They were renounced. They were charged with infernalism. Now I don't know the specifics of what evidence was presented, but they were openly burning people inside Wicker Men. If you you probably never read the work of Julius Caesar. He describes the Celtic tribes burning people in wicker men. That's essentially who the Dene were centuries later.
Gotcha.
So, if that's okay, while that may not be feudalism, that's certainly human sacrifice to dark gods, which is pretty close at best.
Mm-hmm.
But they were also accused of political crimes. I mean, they were, at the time, obviously different tribunals, essentially countries, would have tribunal meetings once every 7 years. Or at those tribunal meetings and other formal meetings, there was a law that meetings had to be conducted in Latin. And that was so that it was accessible to everyone. Because all Hermetics would learn Latin. I mean, everyone who was literate would learn Latin in that era.
Mm.
They were accused of holding their meetings in the vulgar languages, Irish or English, or well, it wouldn't be English; it would be Saxon, I suppose, or Gaelic. And of course, if they're doing that, I was thinking about this for a while. I thought, hang on. To us modern people, yeah, okay, that's a crime. That doesn't seem like a particularly serious crime to us.
Right.
But then I realised why it was so offensive to our ancestors. Because they weren't holding meetings in Latin, they were denying any Magi who didn't speak that language of their voting rights.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense.
And you can imagine, because the order ultimately derives from Rome, we look back to the ideas of the Senate and democracy. The oath gives us all voting rights.
Yeah.
If you start denying people their voting rights, they're going to get pretty agitated about it, as we've seen from our own time.
Yeah. If you can't understand what the issue is because you don't speak the language, then pretty big problem.
And if the law says you have to do your meetings in this set language so everyone can follow, and you don't, I mean, we have this today. I mean, most countries have laws that say, like, political business or legal business will be done in one or two languages, and the order was no different, really. So, I wrote a paper on this a couple of years ago, but I had to get my head around why our ancestors thought what they were doing was so offensive. And yeah, it was a political crime of denying people their voting rights.
Makes sense.
I think that was the main charges. So they held a grand tribunal. There were hundreds of votes cast on both sides. It was close. The vote was carried. They were renounced from the order, and then we fought a 10-year war, which frankly we almost lost before it was over. I mean, half my house died in that war, which I assume means that far more than half took part.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. And no offense, but from what I've heard from some of the other guys who already has Slav, your house is kind of known for that warlike mentality.
Yes, well, we both met D'Onofri.
Right.
So, I mean, you can imagine, you can see why some of us, if I'm not a man prone to take offence as a strategy, the way some people do, but people who are going about this like Roy, they are insulting our hallowed war dead. I don't know my lineage that far back, but I probably did have ancestors who fought in that war.
I feel like I can safely say that I didn't, but...
Well, are you sure?
I mean, it's possible, but...
I mean ancestors in terms of a master-apprentice lineage.
Oh. I thought you meant familial.
I don't blood ancestry. No. I think of it to I referred to enough as my parents. She had her parents before her, and so on and so on.
Right.
That
I mean,
to us, that is our lineage.
I mean, in that case, yeah, it's possible, but from what I understand, Verdidius isn't exactly known for going out and beating face.
No,
Maybe supplying wonders,
yes,
but
but then the war went both ways. They may have been in chantries that were attacked.
it's true.
Um, so I thought when he said he was from prison before the schism, well, I thought yes, we could actually try and move past that and recognise, okay, well maybe he's not personally his legal position is quite complicated, and then we can maybe work with this, but sadly not.
Even if he did, or even if that was the case, though, the traditions as a whole, from what I've been told, have that whole law of shade thing, and starting that fire, if it hadn't been covered up, would be a pretty heavy breach of that.
Yes, well, I'm assuming the press will report it as a mundane fire, but
Yeah, I think they said it was due to a gas leak or something.
I don't think he's going to be exactly protecting the sleepers.
Right.
So I don't know. I think we need to come up with a plan to fight him, because sooner or later we may have to. I think we've tried to have a polite conversation with him. I think he made it quite clear that he's going to be hostile to us the next time we meet. Still there?
Sorry, I had to talk to my mom for a second. Could you repeat that?
I was saying, well, I think he made it quite clear that he's going to be hostile to us the next time we meet.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we need to come up with a plan to fight him, because we may have to.
I've been studying up on I can't remember the hermetic name for the matter sphere.
Okay, yeah, fine.
He'll say the name for the matter sphere in the hermetic language. I've been studying up on that, so I'm going to try and start making armor for all of us. Should help against the fire, at least.
That would help a lot. I mean, personally, I have a fire shield up as well.
Mm-hmm.
I've got into making wonders. This is my first one, he reveals from under his shirt. It's a small ruby on a pendant in the shape of a heart. This lets me resist. Sorry, says in game terms, resist activation damage. I don't know how to say that in character. This strengthens my primal pattern to better resist damage.
Right.
So I can make these. But this took about 18 quintessence. So at this point, what's holding me up is the quintessence supply. I could also make some that would let people ignore the pain of injuries.
That'd still be pretty useful, honestly.
Again, I'm estimating about the same quintessence cost. So that's as I say. To be honest with you, that's the real what's slowing me down, and the fact that I'm fasting for magic for weeks or two to bleed off the paradox from that mission with Mr. Grimm.
Mhm.
Oh, did you hear about that?
Yeah, Rose was telling me a little bit about it. It's sounded like a pretty rough time.
Mm. So, well, I was thankful for this at the time. It made the difference. But well, it sounds like what do you need to create armor?
Mm, I could probably harden clothes into armor after I learn a bit more.
Oh,
Contestant supply would be useful, but worst comes to worst, I can tap into my own, um, I guess myself for that.
yes. Well, and that's not. It's not good to be drawing on you to be drawing on yourself when when we might be exposed to combat at any point.
Right.
Um, you know, um, I remember Dr. Paulson made that mistake when we went to fight the Templars. It was a bit touch and go. Um, okay, I suppose we should see who else in the Chantry is able to harvest quintessence one way or another, and see if they could supply our needs. We can then make equipment for everyone.
Yeah, that'd definitely be handy for people. Um, the Chantry has a node, doesn't it?
I assume it does. I've not been involved in that side of it. Um,
We could see if we could do some favors around the Chantry in exchange for tapping into it, especially if we're going to be making stuff for hermetics.
well, yeah, I mean, there shouldn't be an issue if you're clearly using it to arm and armor, our own people. I don't see why that should be any issue. I don't know how strong the node is, or if it might already be directed to maintaining wards and things. The house that we explored, Mr. Grimm, that was quite a strong node, which was then claimed by two of the people who were there for their cabal. I think so. It might be possible, since given someone's help to claim that node, we can ask to draw from there.
It was Boros and Vince, right?
Yes.
I'm in that cabal.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, that was quite a strong node, so that might be another place to look.
Yeah.
Um, how is that? How are you finding that cabal? I don't. I obviously I was with them on that occasion. I haven't. I don't know them very well.
We get along fairly well. Rose definitely had my back. He actually helped me out last night too. They were going to fire a second shot at me, and he managed to pull me out of the line of fire magic. So that was
So is this Roras the Tefani?
yes.
Yes. No. I did have a long chat with him in Agawad Nights once. He was newly back in the city and was wondering why Yuki and his other friends were all dead or otherwise not here. So I was able to fill in some blanks for him. And the story of what happened with Faust.
He's a nice guy. Very nice guy.
Yes, no, I've been impressed. Well, I was impressed with him when we went to do with Mr. Grimm. That was quite shocking, really. That I was surprised how many people who went there didn't have any mind shields prepared.
Ooh, that reminds me. I need to set one of those up. Thank you for reminding me of that.
Um, so, but it was a good example of lots of people just wandered in without properly preparing themselves. And that brings us nicely back to learning in order to fight, or
Mhm.
or preparing in order to fight, not rushing in unprepared. I think
Right.
it's the best.
It works sometimes, but not all.
Hmm. Okay. Well, I've got another week of fasting, and then I'll be able to start, say, producing quintessence again. I normally make one a day. Um, I guess you make probably far more with them with your talented matter.
I probably could.
Oh, I mean, this was first. So the impressed probably by Stephanos. Did you ever meet him?
Huh.
He was a Viridius who a Greek fellow came to the city, awoke. He was very good at actually organising, getting people together, making things very
Wait.
much very focused.
Yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
I remember him. I'm sorry. Yeah,
yeah,
I remember him.
walked with a limp. Had a pagan to the Greek gods.
But
Um,
those two statues that are golems.
yes. So he explained how he would every day he would I think his method of doing it was he would work at his forge, he would smelt and then unsmelt things, and that would generate quintessence.
Hmm.
And he would do that every day, and generate a lot of quintessence. So it might be you need to obviously find your own approach, um, to harvest quintessence that way.
Hmm.
Um, so I generate one a day just using the prime sphere. Um, you'll probably be far better at it.
Yeah. Hmm. I'll think on that and see if I can figure something out.
Um, I think Kurzweil, Virtual Depth, used to know. He talked about smashing USB drives or something. I don't quite know how that works, but okay. Oh no, win rate actually the Virtual Depth, good fellow, sacrificed himself on the Leviathan. He talked about he'd pour away cans of Red Bull. Again, I'm not quite sure how that works, but it works for him.
I don't think that quite worked for me, but
um, but anyway, yes, I mean, you should given your talent, you should be able to generate a few quintessence every day. You could be churning out armor one a week or so.
mhm.
Um, no, well, that's without even giving directly of yourself, literally.
Yeah, I
Um,
think it's
I mean, do you have any other active enchantments up, like a forces shield?
nothing besides my cybernetics.
Okay.
To take anything I had down for the meeting with the technocrats. Otherwise, they weren't even gonna give
Mm.
us.
Um, I mean, it gets difficult stacking many effects, but these days I keep a shield against kinetic force, a shield against fire,
Hmm.
shield against lightning, um, a mind shield, of course. So I mean, if you need someone to help you set some effects up, let me know. As I'm quite happy to when it's nice and calm and peaceful, we're not stressed. Set up defensive shields for people.
Yeah, yeah, I'll keep that
Uh,
in mind.
and some if this guy's going to keep turning up, maybe a fire shield would be a good idea.
Yeah, definitely.
Um,
I've gotten decent at healing. So if things go poorly and you need some help with that, let me know, and I'm more than happy to.
Right, thank you. That's good to know. It's good to know we've got a good healer. I say I miss having the good Dr. Paulson around.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another reason we need to make sure you've got a supply. You've got enough quintessence, because we don't want someone to die on us because you've run out and can't heal them.
Right. I've gotten pretty used to dealing with paradox, so.
Oh, do you have a familiar?
No, I just kind of have to deal with it.
Oh, yeah, I'm the same. Many people have keep telling me to get a familiar. So far, I haven't. I can see the benefits, but I have mixed feelings about it.
Right.
So no, I'm also I also fast for weeks at a time. So Rory, we've talked about at some length. D'Onofrio, we both know, and I'm glad to hear she's fine. Hopefully, I can talk to her when she's less stressed. I'm trying to think if there's anyone which other hermetics are around and active that we should possibly talk about or bear in mind for anything. I mentioned Mr. King earlier. Have you met him?
I think so.
He joined us on the syndicate.
Yeah, I met him a couple of years back. I helped him move some stuff around a place that he was making into an office. And then he got attacked by Cypher 9, so I helped fend him off.
So yes, I had a good meeting with him when he joined us. I think I don't know if you heard what really caused him to turn his coat was when they threatened to put the spirit of his wife into one of their engines.
Jesus.
So he's still got a personal aim to rescue his dead wife.
Right, that's fair. I remember when I first met him, because he suddenly had. It wasn't quite a seizure, but it was pretty close. Like I triggered some very bad memories for him. It was a little rough time, but got things sorted out, so that's good.
But I mean, I'm pleased that you equally come to us from an interesting background, and you seem quite happy and content in the order. Possibly more than happy and content. You seem to fit in quite well.
I think it helps with the house that I joined.
It helps that the order's not really one tradition. That we're a whole collection of different traditions.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say it's too loudly, but some people might suggest that we shouldn't have had a council of 9. They should all just become houses.
Yeah.
But yes. Well, perhaps if you ever happen to have a good chat with Rory, it wouldn't hurt to mention that's a good thing the order does. That it does take people in and find them and give them a good place in the world. this is an argument I was having with him. He was challenging me to state what good the order does.
Sure.
And I know it's also personally true of me. Not that I talk about events in quite so much. I was rescued by the order at a very young age, so I never really had a proper childhood outside it, which you can. I know. What as you can imagine has made suddenly becoming a father interesting.
I guess you could kind of say the same for me, considering I woke up, wandered for a bit, got brought to this chantry, and then eventually ended up joining. So.
Yes. Well, I suppose we all. Well, the order's taken us who were the float Sam of the world, and they've given us the training, the experience, and the learning, and the meaning, the ways to define ourselves to make us what we are. You can see why for Hermetics our lineages are our lineage of mentors, not a lineage of blood.
Yeah.
That defines who we are. It could not. I mean, it's the same in academia with, those who do doctorates. They speak about their professor that trained them, and so on and so on.
I think it seems to me that the order gets a very bad rap from the rest of the traditions, which is not necessarily unfounded, given how the order has acted in the past. But I also feel it's changed a lot.
Well,
a lot of us have changed a lot. A lot of the new blood are changing things, making us a little less tyrannical, I guess. I don't know.
The order, I don't know, one of its main origins was from the old cult of Mercury in Rome.
Mm-hmm.
That makes the order, like the church, and a remnant of the old Roman Empire. It's sometimes interesting to compare the two. They've both had a history that's just spanned, well, now thousands of years, more than 1,000 at least, and they've both had, shall we say, they've existed through some pretty dark and bloody times. And like any large organization, ultimately it's made up of people, and there have been good hermetics and bad hermetics, just as there have been good priests, dare I say bad priests.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make the organization inherently bad. I mean, you could argue it's impossible. Organizations are not good or bad. They're not even a real thing at some level. And the order has done a huge amount of good in the world. It's fought the Ascension War, has for both, case in point, on the front lines where it's had to. It's kept magic going in Europe for centuries. I mean, yes, the actions of some of our founders were not things we necessarily would do today. But as I say, it was a dark and bloody time. I don't think it's fair to judge them by our modern standards.
Right.
They're literally fighting for survival. And then the whole concept of the order was to bring about a peace. Before the order was a true dark age where wizards couldn't meet safely, so and if they did meet, they would end up fighting. But coming together by all sharing a common system of magic and by sharing the oath, we established a way to actually exist as a peaceful society and police our own. They called it the Pax Hermetica for a reason. And yes, that did mean that lots of those founders then went back to their own traditions and said join or die, which was quite brutal. And again, we don't do join or die anymore. But I don't know. Yeah, the Barbados are annoyed because they were getting burned during the so-called burning times by mundanes, and curiously, witch hunters were less interested in in reclusive scholars or court advisors. So yes, we have we have bad reputation. I don't know. Yeah, some possibly due to ancient history and in taught things they've been taught by their mentors, which are no longer relevant. As you say, the order's not the same thing it was 100 years ago, never mind 1,000 years ago, because we're all different people and the world's different.
Yeah.
It also strikes me that with some of them, some of it is social class. They see us, they see us as at least middle class professionals, whereas some of the other traditions, mages, they don't have proper jobs, they don't have proper education, they're just, there's a class conflict element there, I suspect, going on. And partly that's also what I think. Is that it? Maybe, I don't know. Some people would say there's a gender element that certain traditions, like the Hermetics, we have no. I don't think we have a gender balance particularly, but some would say we have a very masculine approach to magic. We seek to apply reason and logic. We seek to understand how things work. We look for the underlying theory, the meaning of these numbers and symbols and signs. Some would say that's a masculine way of knowing the world, whereas some traditions, well, quite like the Verbena, are very literally much more female centric, or if not, very much a more feminine way of knowing the world.
So I feel like they're both valid ways of looking at everything. Some situations call for one viewpoint, some situations call for
this was something else that came up with Rory. That's ultimately, I think, what makes our tradition different. That the other traditions use magic, we actually seek to fundamentally understand how it works and develop a coherent theory of magic. Some would say in the same way that the technomancers do.
I can see it. Yeah, I can kind of see it, just on different ends, if that makes sense.
Well, okay, so have you got everything you need to see to your injuries now?
Yeah, I should be fine. Thank you again.
Welcome. So perhaps we should just, before we conclude, just touch on a few points moving forwards. As I said, I put the Chancellor on alert, and I'll fully brief the Nofri when she gets back. We should talk more and plan out. We should plan out, making armor and other equipment for, well, active hermetics who are going to fight the good fight. And that means, and that's going to mean also planning out our quintessence supply. What other steps are worth undertaking? As I said, I've got the shards of the box here at the Shard Tree. So if you want to be involved with that, that probably sounds like your area. Might be worth someone researching the mythology of Balor.
Definitely.
Again, that should really be Rory's area, but What other? Is there anything else that we're missing that would be useful steps forwards?
Mm, I can't think of anything at the moment.
Given you're obviously good friends with Lottie, do you want to warn her that she may be against a visitor at her chantry?
Yeah, I'll let her know next time I see her.
Okay, and that it wouldn't hurt to remind her that look, that's the hermetics being friendly and giving her information. I don't. Well, it would be difficult if they end up allying, though. That would not help. I don't think I know. We have to know how that meeting will play out.
Right. I don't know. Maybe it'll work well. Maybe she'll redeem him or something.
She'll talk some sense into him, but
Yeah.
He didn't strike me as the sort of person who's going to have sense talk to him that easily.
Yeah. It's nice to dream, though.
What else? Is there anything else we're missing? We should have acted sooner with relation to that boss.
Yes.
Clearly, I mean, I discussed it with people enough, but then I was waiting for the discussions which we didn't organise in time, and then things happened.
Yeah.
So, I'm trying to avoid anything else like that happening again, where we dawdle and delay, and then matters get out of control.
Stuff about that LJS. It was a pirate cutlass, and it happened the same day that cruise liner went missing.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
So
LJS. Hang on, I've got it. Long John Silver.
Yeah. Fucking pirates. Dealing with goddamn pirates.
Okay, what did the message actually say?
I don't remember off the top of my head, but I have the note in the lab downstairs.
Okay, well, let me know when you check. So we've got a message from the fictional character Long John Silver, or someone using that as an alias.
Yeah.
Or craft name.
And there was something a couple of years ago involving Siren's Library with a bunch of fictional characters. So.
Okay, well, at least that's progress. We've figured something out there.
Yeah.
Was Ozzy? Did he survive?
Yeah, no, he's fine now.
Okay.
It was definitely a scary situation at the moment. Like at the time, like it got him in the shoulder. So.
Right. Okay. It's good to know. It's good that we know Command Night is not a safe location.
Just that's definitely to keep in mind, I think.
Yes, well, that's given everything else. I think we might accept that. The not hermetics can sort that one out. We've got enough on. We've got very non-fictional characters to deal with.
Yeah.
Well, I still need to try and get hold of Rory. After he dashed off last night. See if I can figure out. Well, looked like he knew something, which he should do. This is kind of his area. Okay, well, if we both run out of things to say, it sounds like at least we have some steps and way forward. Let me know. Let me know what the text of the letter was, and I'll say we'll have to plan out our quintessence supplies. I'll be ready. Well, yes, and well, I guess congratulations on the job well done last night.
Nobody died.
No one died. We got our people back.
Well, okay, not technically true. No traditions members die.
Yes.
Technocrat died, but it's okay.
A technocrat died to another technocrat. Well,
sounds like a whole lot of, well, kind of my problem, but not immediately my problem.
Well, yes, there's still Cypher 9 out there with the Behemoth.
Yeah.
But again, we've got far more immediate pressing problems to deal with. Like a possibly Marauder Dene. Working for, well, whatever Balor really is. Whether he's just, I don't know, he might be an humble spirit. He might be a spirit of fairy.
Who knows?
It could be both. Still, until next time.
Yep.
Thank you, players for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching another episode of Darkness in Dublin.